Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, your purchase and pricing email question line. For buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform, please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a model launched in 1995, and this example, which features a mid-D serial number, is one of the oldest I've encountered, closest to the 1995 launch of the Audemars Piguet Millenary Collection. So this is the Millenary Chronograph. This is the 25822 in rose gold. In terms of dimensions, you can see it is long down the wrist rather than broad across the wrist. So the watch is approximately 41 millimeters as I measure it from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, not including the crown. From lug tip to lug tip, it is 43.7 millimeters, so it's very short across the wrist. And then it has a thickness of 11.3 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now the timepiece on my wrist is the 1990s generation oval watch. It seems every generation has its oval watch. And if you grew up in the 90s, the Millenary was that watch. So the timepiece on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist wears beautifully. Short across the wrist, I could recommend it for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. And because this was a dress watch and it is fairly thin, you can see it'll slide underneath the dress cuff with no problem whatsoever. Taking a quick look at the strap, you can see a lovely middle ground between burgundy and fuchsia, a handsome, almost vinaigrette color, red wine perhaps we could call it, with high gloss, large rectangular scale alligator leather. Let's call it Merlot. The timepiece does feature a strap that is thickly bolstered to give it body and volume and an impressive presence. And you can see that the edge is folded and there's a monotone stitch on the bottom. You can see that this is a brand new Audemars Piguet factory strap, this Merlot strap, including a period Audemars Piguet rose gold pin buckle. The case is a handsome one. As you can see, there's a lot of differential execution. So we have the satination of the case against the polish of the case back and the bezel, and then you can see that the lugs are polished. So this double finish, you can see broken by a sharp dividing line between lug and case. This is old school welded lug construction. Audemars Piguet back in the 90s was probably only making about 20 to 25,000 watches a year, and at that level of production you can put more time into handcrafting a case with welded lug assembly. This is something very old school, slower, lower volume method than, for example, stamping or machining. The lugs in the case are created separately. One is inserted into the other, they're welded together, and then all evidence of the weld is manually removed. We have a lovely sapphire cabochon, and then we have round, or I should say ovoid, millenary case-inspired chronograph pushers. They are the shape of the case. We have a bezel that's somewhat stepped in from the case band to create the impression of a thinner watch. It has a short vertical segment, and then it's conical. The dial has a number of sectors, starting outboard with a flange that includes a tachymeter scale, so you can gauge the speed of a race car over a kilometer if you are so inclined. We have 3 sunken registers, and one of them is constant seconds, one of them is chronograph minutes, one of them is chronograph hours. We have chronograph seconds at center. You can see the use of Roman numerals for the hours, and fascinating, they used a conventional Roman numeral 4 rather than a watchmaker's 4. The hands for the hours and minutes are actually beautiful black lacquered alpha style hands. And then we have an applique AP logo. You can see the entire dial is in a series of soft opaline satin tones. And then you can see that the date is somewhat sunken into the dial, like the Royal Oak offshores for the first couple of generations. That was a modular chronograph, and so is this. And it uses the same basic movement as you would have found in an offshore from the mid-90s. So this is a JLC 889 and a Dubois de Praz vertical clutch chronograph module. So together they are called the 2226/2840. The JLC base was almost in-house for AP, as the long-running association between Lecoultre and Audemars Piguet had been consummated as more of a family relationship by the 90s, with AP owning 40% of JLC. The use of an 889 was keeping it in the family. In terms of tech specs, you can see the Millenary logo on the reverse side. The movement is a bidirectional automatic winder with a 38 to 40 hour power reserve, stop seconds, a quick set date, a 4 Hz beat rate. It has a vertical clutch for the chronograph, so it starts without any stagger or jump. All of it on 54 pivot jewels if you combine the base with the module, and 5 position adjusted, which was the standard for the JLC movements in AP watches at the time. The movement, especially the JLC bottom end of the movement, is extensively hand finished and regulated, and again, because of that vertical clutch system in the DD module, you have a wonderfully smooth engagement to the chronograph seconds hand, all of that 30 meters water resistant, and a beautifully handmade case with a JLC movement on the inside and AP on the dial. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.